Wonderful. We are back for season 2025. Waiting for Saners to get their thoughts in the comments and we'll get stuck into the dissection. The final score for those that stopped watching, it was Adelaide 21-9, 135 to St Kilda 10-12, 72. The Crows taking home the 4 points by 63 points, 10 goal win. And a lot of people, looks like in the comments, are saying that it was expected, saying that that's exactly what you get when you have those injuries and you have that level of inexperience in the team. I kind of don't want to succumb to that just yet. I was hoping for more. I wasn't really hoping necessarily for a win, but I was still absolutely, wanting to see a really tough affair, see us challenge Adelaide and make it at least difficult for them at some point. But that's as easy as I've seen a team, take a Ross Lyon-led team apart in a long time. That was... the most disappointing part was pretty much any time the ball went out the back, it was Adelaide with a couple of handballs and they'd walk it into the 50 and that's, they'd get an easy shot on goal. Every time the ball hit the deck in their forward line, they scored. And weirdly going into the game, I thought if they don't mark it a lot in the forward half with contested marks with their three-pronged attack, their three tools, then we'll be in with a shout because we can get them with some leg speed and we can kind of take the game on from that point. But we were not bad in the air and they were really good at ground level. Anytime the ball hit the deck, it was just so quick for them to get it out, so easy to get it out. And couple that with 29 tackles and a half. Like, you're away from home. The very least you could do is pressure the ball carrier, pressure the team. That's not to do with experience. That's not to do with how many A graders we have out. Nothing like that. Effort is effort. You give it or you don't. You can't be asked or you do. And a lot of players, to be honest, look like they couldn't necessarily be asked today, which when it's round one and you're pumped and we've put in the preseason that we have, I was just hoping for, even Ari said it. Even Ari said it in the podcast during the week, saying, as he said, at the very least, lead at quarter time. Just don't be out of the game early. Quarter time, we're 5 goals down. They've kicked 7 goals to 2. Like, we can't even hold, stem the bleeding, hold the tide, or whatever analogy you want to use for more than, 10 minutes? The second they got 1 goal, you knew they were going to get the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. It wasn't like they got one and then we could just quickly pinch one and level the playing field again and slow the game down. It was, once they got one, you almost thought, well, the boys have put their heads down and that's kind of the game. And players were making uncharacteristic errors. I know Nasaya, a lot of people are putting in the comments, not to add a lot of pressure to the young kid, but, he cost us a couple of goals with some of these turnovers, and he wasn't the only one. I thought Jimmy Webster actually held himself pretty well in the back half, to be honest. Ari got a fair bit of the ball, but we carried a lot of underdone players in, and I posed the question to Saners, why would Isaac Keeler have done any worse than Rowan Marshall in the front half? Can someone answer me that? Rowe clearly looked like he shouldn't have been playing. And, Jack Sinclair looked all right. So I get that, tick that box. But Rowan Marshall, hardly played in the ruck, really had minimal impact in the forward half. I just wonder why Isaac Keeler, just to give him a debut, if this game's that much of a write-off, you play Keeler, you play Boyd, you put Hammer down back because he played front half and it wasn't working and we were struggling to contain them in their front half. So, we've trained Caminiti defense that much. Put him in the bloody back line. Some of these things just seem to be a bit weird for me. Like, just to see what we did in Angus Hasty, being, a lot of people put in the comments, Angus Hasty being subbed off so early, that was a bit of a question mark. I don't know if there was an injury to him, but he had 15 touches and then was subbed out for Hunter Clark, who, again, I thought Hunter Clark actually looked really good when he came on, and no doubt he'll probably start next week against the Cats. Max Hall Max Hall was really good. I'll give him his shout. He started the game really lively. 2 goals, 2 in his first 4 kicks in the AFL is really exciting, and he didn't look like the occasion was stressing him out whatsoever, and that was a really good sign. Yeah, but there was just so much lacking. Jack McRae was great. He got a lot of clearances. I don't know what his clearance count in the end was stats-wise, but he would have been absolutely our number 1 ranked player. 34 disposals, 13 kicks, 21 handballs, 360 metres gained, 12 clearances. Is that game high? 12 clearances to Jack McRae. Next best was Isaac Rankin, and then Matt Crouch with 7. And then Marcus Winhager with 5 and Jack Steele with 5. So McRae's gotten 12, and then next best combined in Steele and Windy got 10 combined. So, like, Jack McRae did his job. He did his job, 84% game time. Kel Wilkie played the full game. Darcy Wilson was good, 23 disposals and 2 points. Put those into 1 goal, 1 or 2 goals, and that's an awesome day at the office. Jack Sinclair, 22 disposals. Naz, 27, 1 goal, 1. But a couple there, I think he'd have his time over again. Brad Hill, 6 disposals and a goal. That's a really uncharacteristic game. Like, I know he's had some average games before, as does every player, but 6 disposals and 138 metres gained for our experienced winger in a game where we need the experience to stand up. Zach Jones with 11. You know, it's just... That's the worry, is like, if you're going to have injuries, you're going to have inexperience, you need your guns to stand up. You need your senior players to take control of the situation and say, all right, boys, let's go. And unfortunately, you know, a couple of them really didn't do enough today. But Adelaide were exceptional. Mark Rasciuto continued to remind me every 2 minutes about how good Adelaide are going to be this year and how, you know, Isaac Rankin's going to win the Brownlow. So that was awesome. You know, on top of the scoreboard, to have Mark Rasciuto commentating on KO was, not fun. Not fun at all. Kind of just added salt to the wound. So I don't want to hit the panic button, but I kind of do. But I'm going to try and hold fire. It is round 1, as Josh mentions here. It is round 1. Let's just see what troops we get back, because I dare say if we go into next week and we get Owens, Henry, King, we get a couple of them back at the very least, our forward line entries should look different. But I was hoping for more today. I don't know if my standards are just too high and I'm too picky, but I really was hoping for, like I said, I don't necessarily think that we could have won this game with that many out, but I think we all expected it to be a bit harder for Adelaide to win, you know. Just make it difficult, and we didn't. I mean, I don't think Kane Corns can say much. Port Adelaide were worse than us, getting done by 91, so I think Kane should probably just focus on his own team for a week. That'd be nice. I dare say King will help, having a target of his size. Look at what Adelaide had. They had 3 targets, and then they're small. So we had, you know, Caminiti, whose confidence is shot, and that was it. No Sharman. Like, even just Sharman today would have helped a lot with some leading lanes and some efficiency going inside 50, because he does take his chances. Evan says, going in, I thought the list looked better than the first extended squad, but at best we can say we bled some new players. Yep, I mean, that's definitely a way to look at it. The glass half full is that it's another game into the youth, and Garcia looked like he got going a little bit late in the game. Darcy Wilson had a good game. Hasty had a good game. I thought Ari got a lot of the ball and did some nice things. So, yeah, I can see that point. There was some positives to take out of it, but in terms of, you know, win-loss, it's a big L to take to kick off the year. Gus says some of these Saints aren't up to the fight. We wanted effort, but we didn't get it. Some new players in, but it's the same old shit. I mean, Cordy was under siege today, as was Kel Wilkie, so I dare say even if we had Dougal Howard or Josh Battle today, I don't know if it would have made much of a difference with the way the ease at which the ball was getting in there. I'd like to know the stat on how many goals they kicked from general play or marks, because I feel like they kicked a lot of goals from general play, and I kind of thought it'd be more from marks. Boxall, Keeler should have played. Sinclair needed at the back. McRae, our main mid now, still off his best by some way, which is surprising because Jack Steele's preseason, his pracky games were really good. So that was the one thing I was confident about going into this season was McRae would allow for Steele to kind of just get off the leash a little bit more, and it just wasn't the case. But Boxall was a big surprise for some people. I thought maybe it was because Clark was fit, Sinks was fit. If Sinks hadn't have played, maybe Boxall plays, but like weirdly, the midfield wasn't the most like injury ravaged part of the ground, which is a worry because of the performance today. We only really have Filippo and Henry to come back into that midfield. It's not lacking too much. It's really just the bookends, in full back and full forward where we're kind of lacking the most. Boxall next week. I hope so. That'll be, depending on I don't know. I think Sandy played today, I'm not too sure, but you'd think he'd get a shout. Lawrence's Hall was a shining light today, absolutely. Keeler for Caminiti. It depends on Rowe now. Did everyone see what happened with Rowe? He had his left knee iced up at the end of the game, didn't finish the game. So I swear, if Rowe was ruled out against Geelong because we've played him today, I don't know, then it justifies this point of Keeler should have played. Just play. At least he's good at ground ball. He did some nice things in the Port Pracky. I don't know. I think that's probably a bit over the top. We played Richmond in round 3, but then again, the way we played today and the way Richmond played that second half on Thursday night, Richmond will probably take a few scalps. So let's see how we go against Geelong without jumping the gun. That's what I'm trying to do because I know I can very much overreact, and I'm trying not to because I know we have 7 or 8 players that will make this team much better, much better. And that wasn't by any means our best team on the park. That was one of the more inexperienced, undermanned teams that we've fielded in a number of years. But when I say that I expected more, I'm not saying I expect us to win every game, but I expect a certain level of professionalism and effort, and I feel like both were lacking today. And those are the two things that Ross holds in high regard, that a player at a bare minimum needs to be professional in their preparation, professional on game day, and give 100% effort for 4 quarters. And surely no one can say that those things were met. That's what I kind of see as the main sticking point in this game. Wooden Spoon Data says, we weren't too bad until halftime, and Mason's just after gave me hope, but damn, that block of 5 in 8 minutes was just awful. 100%. It was weird thinking, wow, Adelaide have been so good. We've been so poor. Can hardly kick a goal. And we're only 5 goals down. It was the start of the third. But then within 10 minutes, it blew out to nearly 65 points. And you look at the first quarter, a run of goals, 5-goal lead at quarter time, and then the start of the third, we kick an early goal, and then they kick one, and then our heads drop, bang, 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 10-goal difference, and what's the final margin? 63 points or whatever it was. So it's these moments in games where we just switch off, absolutely switch off. Yep, slow start again. And it's just such a trend, even last year we beat Geelong in Sydney. Both games we started pretty slow, they were wins, but people forget in some of our wins last year, we still were 3 or 4 goals down in the game at some point. Rob says, exactly the score I was expecting. No one should be shocked. That's fair. I think this is the fair point from Kenny. It was a lack of effort by some big names that upset me as an ultimate interstate member. Yeah, sorry to those Saners. I know some Saners, Ari, and a number of others that flew over from all over the country to go to the game, and 3 games in Adelaide in five weeks. You couldn't script that stuff. Go through a couple more comments and then we might wrap up. Got to do my 5 things, which is going to be tough. Yeah, that's a great point, Ben. Adelaide were very quick. Once they got one handball, there was another handball. And they just had enthusiasm. There was just an enthusiasm. It's round 1. I know they're playing at home and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like Sometimes you just win on just having fun at the footy and trying to take the game on and trying to make something out of nothing and not make it look like a chore. But every disposal, every bit of effort looked like a chore for some of these boys. And if you're doing that in round one, like, come on. Alan says, we looked slow, second to the ball, poor skills, many players underdone. Was always going to be a flogging. Next week won't be much better. Why do we recruit players that can't run or kick? McRae, our best player by far. He must be wrapped. He came to the Saints. Caminiti is a liability. And Jessica says, no words. We just effort, heart, and some passion. Yeah, we just ask for that, don't we? I think I might wrap it up there saying it's a tough way to start the year, I'll tell you. The podcast is not going to be a fun one. Weirdly, we play well against Geelong, so I don't know, if we get players back, maybe something can switch, because we know that our depth is always tested and we always start the year behind the 8 ball. That's a really frustrating thing. Like, every year there's always players out, there's always this, there's always that, but I know it goes around the competition and we shouldn't panic. Let's see. It's a long season. And once we get our best team on the park, then we can absolutely be more critical. But right now, I think it's, I don't know, trying to get by, it seems. So as much as we wanted to get a result today, it was always going to be an uphill battle. And it was a 10-goal loss in the end. So, Sainers, for all of you that are watching, all 300 or so of you, thank you very much for tuning in. Really disappointing performance. I know that. It's going to be a very interesting week at selection, depending on injuries and what can be done. I didn't expect it to be borderline me thinking we might lose by 100 points at one point, mate. That's to be honest. At one point, it looked like we're going to lose this by 100 points. I don't think in any time, any shape or form, we should be thinking that. We shouldn't be viewed that way. So, yeah, maybe we lose by 40 or so, but I didn't expect it to blow out to nearly 80. Like, that's just inexcusable. Like, it is. Richmond had plenty of excuses on Thursday night against Carlton. What did they do? They bloody got to work, and look what happened. So, excuses are excuses. I'm sick of them, and I just want us to have a certain level of professionalism that you can... We talk about, Ross and his strategy is next man up, next man up. Well, then if it's next man up, we shouldn't be making these excuses, right? We shouldn't be. So I'm not going to be making excuses definitely against Geelong. I want us to field a strong team if we can get players back, fingers crossed. Owens, hopefully. Henry, Max King will be touch and go, but I'd absolutely love to see him get up. And we'll definitely... hopefully Marvel will be full of some Sainers there, get some noise going and see what the boys can do. But if we dish something very similar next week, we don't want this to be a trend. Let's just, put out a loss by 91. People are still going to tip them for top 6. They'll just deem that as a once-off. So in this sense, let's just see what happens, Sainers. So quick plug on YouTube, we are pushing for 13,000 subs, Sainers. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed and you want to see me rant and cry during the year about all the losses we might get, please subscribe on Instagram as well, at Saints TV Pod. But most importantly, YouTube is the go. We've got plenty of shows coming out, plenty of live reviews, live shows, podcasts. So support the channel by subscribing if you can. So on that note, Sainers, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I guess I'll be seeing you during the week to talk about the lead up to the big game against Geelong next Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Sainers. Take care. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.